if not, I wonder, dude, like, how do you feel about Mecole back, and do you think he can make the roster?
I think he can always. There's always a chance he makes it because he knows the playbook, and the fact that he's back after 2 years ago not being on the team, trading for him last year, and then bringing him back again. There's something comfort Andy Reid loves about having players that know what he wants out of them, even though he can't track a football to save his life. And that's neither here nor there. But what I can't understand about what they're doing is that we're at another point in time where there's small slot receivers on the team and they don't have a large presence. That tells me that maybe they don't expect Rashee Rice to miss as many games as we think. That's my current interpretation, because you have Justin Watson and you have Rashee Rice. And yes, Xavier Worthy is 6 foot, but he's 165 pounds. So you're not really going to be tasking him with big catches over the middle of the field a ton. Not that he can't do it. Again, that's not it, guys. Like you guys want to see him handle contact and take on some contact and deliver some hits. You can go watch his tape. It's littered all over it. It's everywhere. So it's more about understanding what you have. So again, I've said it, I will say it, and I'll continue to say it. Rashee Rice's role should be Sky Moore's for however many games he's not playing. That should be his role. Period. End of story. I won't talk about it anymore. So Mecole Hardman is MVS in this instance. That's what he is, but he's smaller. That's the only situation that this makes sense. If he makes the team, he's being used as MVS. Run down the field. We'll throw you a football every now and then and kind of figure it out.
Well, I agree with you in that makes sense, because if you wanted to go get a big body receiver, there's a few out there you could go get. Mecole knows the system, so maybe that's the advantage. But I agree with you. I think the guy that I'm worried about, not even worried, like if they're going to get tougher, it should be Sky Moore's. But if somebody's going to get caught that ought to be on this roster, I wonder if it isn't Sky. I wonder if Remigio is going to cut into Sky's chances. And if so, if he can prove that he can take hits, is Remigio a viable alternative? I don't know that. And I don't know that they know that.
That's fair. And I think that he would be more of a Kadarius Toney replacement. That's how I view Nico Remigio. I think he's a quick, shifty guy that you get the ball in his hands and let him work. Obviously, he's shown a little bit in training camp last year of being able to catch the football down the field, but he can do a lot of what Mecole was asked to do, and Kadarius, in the sense that you get in the ball and you let him work. He also can stretch the field a little bit. And granted, we haven't seen a ton of it from him because they haven't had enough time to use him, but he's fast. We know he's fast. So that's where it becomes difficult, because if you look at Mecole, you look at Remigio, even Kadarius to an extent, I think Sky Moore is the only guy that can handle contact physicality over the middle of the field. I think Kadarius does it, but he does it in a reckless manner where he can get hurt very easily. And it's fun to watch. He can deliver hits. He can dip his shoulder. He moves differently. But again, when we're talking about taking football seriously, I would much more, again, personally lean to Sky Moore to do some of that than to Kadarius Toney, who seems to not care about his own body and actually playing football.
I get you. I seem to be having a pretty good lag, so I'm just going to say welcome back to the membership, Darius. Hope you're doing well. And Dana, if you would, take this one so that I'm not talking about it.
All right, appreciate you, John. Hey, guys, any word on Carson Steele? I haven't heard anything about Carson Steele. We've seen a little bit of, the OTAs, him working. I believe he caught a pass behind the back from Patrick Mahomes in training in those OTAs periods. So he's on the field with the guys, and that's always good to see. So not a ton of word on these UDFA rookies because there isn't a ton of experience and a ton of opportunity for them to get in there and work with the team until you actually put the pads on and then see what they can do. And I think that's just what, at this point, we're just waiting out the time trying to figure out how that's going to look. So while Ryan is off figuring out his internet, I don't know if he's figured it out yet, but he's back.
We're gonna see.
Maybe. I don't think so. I don't think he's figured it out. I will continue on, and I will. There we go. Clinton, thank you for the super chat, my friend. McDuffie, Williams, Watson, Najee Johnson, Kamal Hayden, and no Nick Jones. It's possible. I also don't know if we can just assume that Kamal Hayden makes the roster, because how healthy is he? And he didn't play most of the end of last year because he was not healthy, and that's not his fault, obviously. So getting him into camp to see how he's going to perform. He also could be on the short list to be, all of a sudden you come up with this injury in training camp and you get on the IR for the rest of the season, and you stash him on the IR until 2025. That could very well happen for Kamal Hayden. But at the end of the day, if he comes out and he plays very, very well, which I think his upside is more so better than Watson and Williams as a player at his peak, than maybe he gets credit for. So that's always a possibility. I don't know, man. With Najee Johnson, Watson, and Williams pushing, I think maybe there's a chance that all of them make the roster. That's something that I'm very interested to see. Appreciate the super chat. But I think he would be the odd man out. But maybe not, also because he's the only one that would play the slot, not named Trent McDuffie. So he might have himself a little bit of more of a way in. Granted, we've seen that they want to use Chamari Connor as a slot player this year. So there's a lot of moving parts with the secondary, and they could also, play a bunch of different people in there in the training camp and see how they work. So that's something I'm very interested to watch. So thank you for bringing it up. Maybe Ryan is switching internets back right now, and we'll see him here shortly. Steven, appreciate another question from you today. How many wide receivers do we have, and who is the odd man out? We have a monopoly of short slot guys. Yeah, we just kind of talked about that, right? Unfortunately for the Chiefs, that's what they kind of want right now, right? They want fast, they want speed, and the NFL is changing in the sense that you don't just have to be big and fast. You don't have to be Megatron. You don't have to be DK Metcalf. You don't have to be those types of players to win on the outside and survive in the NFL today's game. That's what they drafted. Xavier Worthy, bring in Hollywood Brown, two smaller players that have speed and have been able to showcase that not just at college that they can win. I'm going to tell you that I think Xavier Worthy's got it. Like, I think he has the it factor. I think he'll be just fine. And we know Marquise Brown's been dinged up from time to time. So there's going to be a very interesting decision that has to be made this year at training camp. And I don't think it's going to be 7. So Andy Reid leaned into the 7 wide receivers last year. He's like, fine, y'all want 7 receivers. We're going to give you 7 receivers. And it didn't work out. I think he's going to go back to 6. And it's going to be, I personally don't know how the Rashee Rice situation is going to unfold. Obviously, I don't think anybody does. But if he's on the roster, it's going to negate who else makes it. But if he's suspended and off the roster, you're going to see somebody make it, maybe like a Nico Remigio or one of, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, one of those 3. Because I think we can just assume right now that Justin Watson, Xavier Worthy, and Marquise Brown are going to be your 3 starters day one. That's what I'm going to say right now.